Paul wanted them to know that the source of their supply was not their job. He wanted them to know that the source of their supply were not their friends. He wanted them to know that the source of their supply were not gifts. He wanted them to know that the source of their supply were not their talents, their abilities, their families. But Paul said that my God is your source. And the reason that Paul could say that my God is your source is because Paul's God had been Paul's source. There may be somebody here who could be in Paul's amen corner this morning, and you can testify that you've been in some situations where your family couldn't bring you out. You've been in some situations where your friend could not bring you out. You've been in some situations where the folk in the church couldn't bring you out. You've been in some situations where no human being could bring you out, and you found out, like the Apostle Paul was trying to inform the church at Philippi, that God is your. You know, the Lord spoke to me just the other morning, and this is what he said to me. He said, I want you to have just as much confidence in my declaration of provision as you had in your earthly father's promise of discipline. My God shall supply. I want you to look at your neighbor and say, God's going to do it. God's going to do it. Come on, tell somebody like you're really convinced that he's going to do it because he's done it for you. Tell somebody God's going to do it. If they needed love, love was available. God would supply. If they needed peace, he's the Prince of Peace. If they needed a friend, God's a friend that stick closer than any brother. If they needed deliverance, he's a deliverer. If they needed grace, he's the God of all grace. If they needed comfort, he's the God of all comfort. If they needed healing, he was wounded for their transgressions and bruised for their iniquity. Whatever they needed, God would supply.